Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter, as well as those of you on YouTube. Happy Friday from a BEA beautiful Los Angeles, California. Where downtown we have set a record. If you know anything about the Los Angeles metro area, is that there's about 8 different weather reports. Downtown LA today has hit 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That is an all-time record. Here at the beach, it's comfortably in the high 70s. Just got back to spend the next hour with you wonderful and glorious people. Shout out to our partners at Providex as we have ourselves a 6-game slate in the association this evening. Just wanted to come in, say what's up, do a little live Q&A. What's up, Helwick? I should have known you'd be in here after San Antonio's undefeated month of February. Pretty impressive. Even more impressive seeing Victor Wembanyama out there on the second leg of a road back-to-back against a team that's 30 games under 500. That is the most obvious load management spot possible, and he still played anyway. Now, granted, he's got to play in pretty much every game with the exception of a couple to qualify for those end-of-season awards, but still noted, and that's part of the reason why I'm not impartial regarding the 65-game rule. I like having it there because it forces stars to play. Is it more optimized and ideal if Joel Embiid could play 55 games out of the 82 and then we'd see him more, he'd be healthier and it's better long-term for the product? Yeah, but we're trying to change the perception of mainstream sports fans that think the NBA regular season doesn't matter. And the very first prerequisite and cornerstone that is necessary is having stars available who can play and are not actually injured. Happy Friday, Steve. Happy Friday, Shaden. Am I going to cry if the Knicks lose again? Well, good thing they're not going to lose tonight. They're playing the Bucks. Actually been playing some decent basketball, to their credit. But the Knicks are favored by 8 points for a reason, and you better believe that Karl-Anthony Towns will not be finishing this game tonight with 5 total shot attempts. That's what happened in the last game against the Cavs. I wonder what his over-under is, because they are going to force-feed him tonight. Karl-Anthony Towns, over-under set at 17.5. Don't love the minus 142, but that sure feels like an over for me. Coach Mike says, what's up, Wob? I missed the comments before this. Sorry. Oh, yeah. 11 straight wins and everything is perfect. And this is a team, by the way. If you're a Spurs fan, you know that this is going to be your team for probably the next half decade minimum. This is not one of those last dance situations where you've got a bunch of veterans making up a big three that have expiring contracts a la the Lakers. Now, we know Luka's been extended. Reeves will probably come back, but the uncertainty around LeBron, it just adds a certain level of toxicity to the situation because of the unknown. Business is not taken care of. Last thing I'll say about that is I did go to Cavaliers training camp last season, not this season. And what the first thing the players would say about why the vibes in the building were so good, which ultimately led to that team being the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, was that all the players knew everyone's business is taken care of, meaning we all have contracts. No one is going to be trying to fill up the box score because they're going to be an unrestricted free agent in a couple of months. Everyone can go out there and just hoop, and it made life so much easier for them. The antithesis of that is currently happening with the Lakers right now, at least in my opinion. Coach Mike says, what's up, Wob? I missed the Monday and Wednesday shows. Did I watch the Atlanta NASCAR race? Pretty good. Yeah, my problem is I don't like super speedway racing that much unless I'm watching the final 5 laps. if it's at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, you don't need to watch until the final 5 laps because everyone's doing the same exact speed. And it's pack racing, so they're all going to be inches away from each other. You just got to wait for the big ones, see who survives, and then you can watch the final couple laps. There's no strategy really involved. But now that we get to the part of the schedule that I really enjoy, those mile and a half tracks, which require tire wear, gas strategy, wheelmen really matter. We'll see. Castle and Keldon were playing through minor injuries too. Where does everyone stand on 6th man of the year? Because I know what I'm seeing with Jaime Jaquez. But I hear from Spurs fans that want Keldon for 6th man of the year. Wolves fans want Naz Reid. I would say Naz Reid's probably the favorite. But man, Jaquez does so much. He does so much for that team. So my ball knowledge took a minor brief dent in the armor today because I was doing the Sirius XM show with Antonio and I was discussing what's happening with Con Knuppel and Cooper Flagg. And for a second, I'm like, wait, does the 65 game rule apply to rookies? I assumed yes, but thankfully I hedged my bet a little bit. Like I'll check in on this and report back later. The 65 game rule doesn't apply to rookie of the year, most improved player, or all rookie teams. That's so random. Why does the 65 game rule not apply to those particular categories? And I did not know that before today. I had a hunch, but unfortunately, I guess I don't know ball. Mason Plumlee should have signed with the Lakers, says B. Stoney. He could have done a Clint Capella impression. Honestly, what DeAndre Ayton? So this is what we have to discuss. Let me come full screen for this next topic because you're going to get Wob going now. By the way, I got a nice little glow going. I'm very pleased with the sun here in Los Angeles. I know Andrew's enjoying it too. Helwick has an early stat of the night. Taj Gibson will be the 16th oldest player in NBA history when he makes his debut. I wonder if he'll actually play. Cole Anthony got released. Yeah, he can fill it up. I wonder why he keeps getting waived. Is there something up with him? And Wyatt says questions are lame, but curious how Ant and Finch would have went if he missed the shot after coach told him to pass after the possession before. They have, okay, so now I'm going to do 2 rants. The first of which to that question with Ant and Finch. So the 2 of them love each other. Ant, you can tell, appreciates that he has a coach that he can dress down, that he doesn't have to worry about the optics of having a basketball conversation and really getting into a passionate collaboration or deliberation about end of game scenarios. It is the respect level that those 2 have that enable these passionate exchanges that we see on TV like we did last night. And because Finch was like, dude, you got to pass the ball, stop forcing it up so much. And then he ended up making the last one. That's why he walked over to Chris Finch and said, this is what I do. This is what I fucking do. So I don't want to make this sound like Chris Finch is on the hot seat because him and Ant are having disagreements on what to do in the final. No, they're having basketball conversations that are built around competition. So there's going to be some passion involved. Number 2, let's go back to last season. Game of the year, double overtime between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. You watch Anthony Edwards twice. This game was on TNT super late at night. Dress down Chris Finch for continuing to run ATOs that have Anthony Edwards receiving the basketball near the half court line. And he's like, stop drawing up this shit because they keep sending double teams and I got to get rid of the basketball. So he turns around and he points to a spot on the floor and says, that's where I want the next one. The problem is the Nuggets were onto him and they still were able to bracket their defense accordingly. But you can tell he stops on the floor. He goes, Finchy, do not draw up an ATO unless it puts me right here. And he did. So, long story short, what happened last night, scores 89-88, less than a minute left. Anthony Edwards hits that shot. He continues his clutch player of the year campaign. And now all of a sudden we forget about the 2 to 3 minutes before the final minute where he had all those misses because he hears everything. Everything. He doesn't play pass guard. He plays point guard. Okay, Lakers. Ayton. Obviously the main character yesterday. And what was so lack of awareness is by DeAndre Ayton saying, they're trying to turn me into Clint Capella. I ain't no Clint Capella. Number one, Clint Capella's made 9 figures being Clint Capella. Number two, he's still a contributor at this age. Number three, that is the exact role that the Lakers need from a big man. They don't need another high usage guy that is going to wait the rest of the offensive way and say, let me cook. They got 3 dynamic offensive players, some of the best of all time. For DeAndre Ayton to think that way, and I think it's unfair also to accuse him of saying that in a derogatory term, which is disrespecting Clint Capella. He could simply be stating a fact that Clint's fine at what he does, but you're trying to turn me into Clint Capella, and that's not what I do. I don't think that's what happened. I think there was some pettiness involved with his delivery, but one of those two could possibly realistically be true. The problem is the Lakers need that exact role on their team. And for him to go out there against a team that once drafted him number 1 overall and traded his ass to Portland. He's had some moments in Phoenix. He caught and finished the Valley-oop en route to the NBA Finals. He also had his little ice escapade up there in Portland. So he's been getting a reputation for himself as someone that just, you know what, maybe you are not as offensively gifted as you think you are. And perhaps you were taken a little bit higher in the draft than you should have been. You are now in Los Angeles on a deal where you're making $8 million. Yes, you have a player option next year, but you don't have a whole bunch of leverage, especially on a team with Luka Doncic. And you say it loud enough for the press to hear, I ain't no Clint Capella. All I know is whenever your next game is after you say something like that, you better go out there and be gangbusters with effort, with proficiency, intangibles, every facet of the game that requires energy, effort, and care. You better be the best man on the floor. And he responds by taking off of his shorts, dropping them to his ankles, and defecating all over that court, which used to be his. To not only start, but run minutes in the 20s and finish with 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 0 blocks, while Clint Capella in a game against the Orlando Magic comes off the bench for like 16 minutes and goes for 4, 6, and 4 blocks. That is a catastrophic failure of a retort to everyone that was accusing you of being overrated or not worthy of feeling such insults. That was terrible. Now, 2 more parts of that Laker game. The Austin Reeves gets JJ Redick for the 2nd game in a row, draws up a ridiculous ATO to get his guy an open look with an opportunity to tie or win the game. If you go watch the play, you can see that the Suns are in switch everything mode. Number 1, they're up by 3 points with less than a second left. Why? Again, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Why is there a single Phoenix Suns player inside of the three-point arc? Why? All five were last night. And they're in switch everything mode, which is pretty damn obvious. That is until LeBron has been in this scenario 5,000 times and knows it. So what he does is he sets this decoy screen where he doesn't even line up to set a screen. It's just standing in the way because his on-ball defender notices it and doesn't switch. And now the guy that was supposed to be following Austin Reeves and Grayson Allen ends up switching because LeBron's in the way. And there's no switch, the result of which is Austin Reeves in the opposite corner wide open. Eddie Johnson, my colleague at SiriusXM, is screaming into the microphone even before the ball is inbounded. Get outside the three-point arc. Not a single one of you should be standing inside. And I have to agree. How many times are NBA teams going to be burned when they're up by three, knowing that the team has no other choice but to shoot a three-pointer, are going to leave guys inside the three-point arc? It makes no fucking sense at all. And right before that, when Royce O'Neal, say something nice about Royce O'Neal. Right before that, Luka plays somewhat decent defense. I would say even, okay, let's not somewhat, decent defense. When Grayson Allen goes to dribble penetration, Luka stays in front of him, contests, and if Grayson Allen would have shot that layup, him or LeBron, Luka, would have sent that into the upper deck. Goes up and under, hits Gillespie in the corner, hockey assists over to Royce O'Neal, who hits the step-in three. That was not Luka's fault. That was Marcus Smart's fault for not rotating, and it required Jake LaRavia to come all the way from the opposite corner to contest that. The Lakers are making a habit of playing in these games, man, where they have some chaotic, dramatic finish that requires extensive context and elaboration. They are 11-16 now against teams that are above 500. If you look at the three-man combinations, I might even have it on the screen. Give me a second, and I can provide you now with a visual. Okay, sorted by minutes. If you go to three-man combinations on the Los Angeles Lakers, sorted by minutes, it's going to be tough to read, but I'll just tell you what I know. Right here. What? Almost. Hold on. It's the next page. I'm looking for three-man combinations that are worse than what LeBron, Luka, and Reeves are when on the floor concurrently, which after last night is a minus 8.4 net rating. There's only two combinations that have played as many minutes as LeBron, Luka, and Austin. One of them is right here. James, Ayton, and Hachimura, minus 9.8. And the other is LeBron, Luka, and Rui at minus 10.1. But when those big three are on the floor together, it's minus 8.4, which ranks third worst. Those three cannot play together. There's only one basketball. They all need it. Austin Reeves resorting to a catch and shoot will not be sustainable. And we know they're not giving anything else on defense to make up for it. That's all I have to say about that. Questions, chat? Let's go to the chat. Let's see. Royce O'Neal is a good clutch player. Say something nice about Royce O'Neal. Thank you. Yeah, Grayson Allen's pass to set that up was amazing. Some Laker fans were accusing him of a travel on that, but it was pretty bang. And it's just the same thing that we saw in Phoenix last year with Durant, Booker, and Beal. Those three guys that need the ball in their hands. They tried to turn Bradley Beal into Kyle Korver. They tried to turn Bradley Beal into Duncan Robinson. That's not what he does. Then you got a whole bunch of dynamic offensive players that have high usage. Everyone else is just standing around like gargoyles. That top-heavy big three strategy to building a roster is so archaic that it will never work ever again. It died with Durant, Curry, and Clay. What else? The most optimal NBA roster in 2026 is as follows: superstar, secondary scorer. A secondary scorer is someone who's a great number two that is willing to concede those clutch time opportunities to number one. But I'm here if you need me. I'm here if you need me. You know who the best number two of all time is? Dwayne Wade. Like a Manu Ginobili. Those type, the Kyle Lowrys. Superstar, secondary scorer, rim running, rim protecting big man, like a Mitchell Robinson. 3-and-D swing man. That's 4. And then traditional point guard. Table setter. And then the rest of your roster is just 3-and-D guys to supplement if there's any injuries or mixing and matching. That is the most optimal roster construction possible, and it's always evolving and or transforming. Lomax says Jalen Johnson, most improved player, was 28-1 earlier this season. Well, he's the favorite right now here on Prophet X2. Lorenzo asks, hey, Wob, what's it going to take for you to have Keldon Johnson as your sixth man of the year candidate? I keep getting this from Spurs fans. He's had a couple of weeks where he makes some clutch shots, but in totality, his contributions and performances are nothing compared to Jaquez. And Naz Reid, it's a better three-point shooter in volume. I've got Keldon third at the moment, but I could hear I'm more between Naz and Jaquez. But I appreciate Keldon Johnson for being accepting of this new role because it used to be his team. Keldon Johnson was on Team USA in one of their World Cups back in the day. He could have very easily thought, like, I'm the longest tenured San Antonio Spur. This is still my team. I should be getting the ball more. But no, he's a rebounder. He's a hard-nosed defender, and he's catch and shoot on offense. You desperately need guys on your team that can do that, either starting or coming off the bench, and he fills that role perfectly. But he's just not doing it as well as Naz Reid or Jaquez. Put LeBron at the 4 and have him be a hub in the high post. Well, last night, without DeAndre on the floor, LeBron had to be the low man protecting the rim. That's how mangled this Lakers roster is at the moment. Oh, stop. Enough with this Hornets big three, LaMelo, Khan, Miller. Like, yeah, those are good players, but we're not calling them no damn big three. The team's not even 500. I don't want to hear it. I understand that they've been hot lately. They're not even 500 in the Eastern Conference. What are we doing? If they get into the top 6 in the East, we can dedicate more time to them. But can't take them seriously. Sorry. 22 points per game score. I delusionally called into Radio Roulette 7 games into 2022 telling you Keldon should be an all-star. At the time, you may have had a case, but I would assume the Spurs didn't have that good of a record if Keldon was scoring like that. Is SGA, J-Dub, and Chet not a big three? No. You can't just name the 3 best players of a team and call them a big three. A big three is assembled usually through free agency or trade, and it's made up of vets. And they have to have some mercenary qualities to them. Otherwise, it's just through the farm system. Draymond, Clay, and Steph were all warriors to start. Those guys you just mentioned, Hornets. Big threes are LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. Allen, Garnett, Pierce. A big three would have been Durant, Beal, and Booker. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean they don't have big three qualities. Where's my next vacation? Next vacation, Lorenzo. I believe I'm going to go to Queenstown, New Zealand in July when it's peak winter, so I could go skiing. End of July. And then I'm going to Ireland for the UNC TCU football game to start off next season. Go Dublin and then Galway after that. Five and 2 shot for you. Well, it's a 7-game sample size. Starting to sound like a Hornets fan. They want. Well, hold on a second. The Hornets not going to be satisfied with 6th. 5th is the goal. They want the Knicks in round 1. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a sweep. And it's an ugly one. I feel like the trainer or the promoter in Rocky IV looking at Apollo Creed, this has-been, needs to learn in a lesson, and it may be an expensive one or a harsh one, whatever he says during that press conference. Would you guys stop naming big threes? There's no big three. Brunson, Cat, and OG is not a big three. OG is an elite swingman. If it was like Brunson, Cat, and Durant, yes. By the way, what the Rockets require to get victories, man, they need Durant to be quite literally historic every night for them to pull off a victory. That shit is not sustainable. They can do it against an Orlando Magic team that is the epitome of mediocre. Well, I just got tickets. Tickets are not cheap to UNC TCU. I got some of the best seats in the house, considering the price zone. So I am third to last row in the lower bowl. Remember, they play that game in Ireland, which is a soccer stadium. So third to last row of the lower bowl at like the 25-yard line. So decent view, not too close to the action so that you can't see anything. Football games, you usually want to be higher because it's got better view of the full field. And it's also underneath an overhang, which you would normally think creates an obstructed view. But no, every single time this game is played, it rains. So I've got protection from the rain too. Danny says the Rockets really love those extra possessions from Adams, the highest offensive rebounding percentage in the association. They're still a good offensive rebounding team, but yeah, they lost a big part of when you can't hit shit, when you can't hit water if you fall out of a boat. This happens to the Knicks sometimes, and it doesn't matter because when you have the best offensive rebounder in the league in Mitchell Robinson, he creates second chance opportunities, which almost always lead to open look threes. Almost always. Oh, that's quite the comparison. This era of Orlando Magic basketball reminds me of the Elton Brand, Andre Iguodala Sixers, just to occupy an East playoff spot and go home before May. Those Blake Griffin Detroit Pistons were in the same category too. You're just like, whoa, what is the purpose of being perpetually in seventh place and just getting knocked out after 2 home playoff games? You don't go into the lottery, just keep running it back. Is there much weight for the MVP battle tonight between the Thunder and the Nuggets? Well, Shea crushed these guys last time, but people's brains don't remember anything. So Shea putting in work on the Nuggets previously, I wonder how many voters, first of all, saw that game, and number 2, remembered it. That's just not the way voting works. People have short-term memory loss. I'm sorry, short and long-term memory loss nowadays. And I'd say most of those voters do one of 2 things. They have their own hypotheses in their mind, and they watch games just looking for a way to validate it. Or number 2, they don't really watch anything, and then they'll read one of 2 NBA analysts, like popular NBA analysts, articles at the end of the season to get the basis for what they should select. Because if he says it, then I'll copy the answers to the test and I'll just fine tune it a little bit so my plagiarism isn't so noticeable. And while this is a tad derogatory, it's also unrealistic for someone who is traveling with a team to all the away games in the trenches with that team. Their job is to observe, analyze, and create content around one team. Most of those people have families and lives outside of their job, and they're not spending it watching the other 29 teams in the association. So what you get is a lot of echo chamber activity when it comes to voting season. I would say that the national NBA writer is more of an endangered species than anything, because now content has shifted towards fans gravitating towards their favorite team. They want an expert on this one topic. And if we end up playing another team, I'll go find who the expert is with that topic. But I'd say 10 years ago, people were looking for national coverage. Mike at Night asks, does this season seem like a letdown? Or is it just me because I'm a Mavs fan? If your team stinks, you're going to usually think the NBA stinks too. Like one of my best friends is a Brooklyn Nets fan, diehard, absolute diehard Brooklyn Nets fan. When they stink, he doesn't watch the NBA. When they had Kyrie and Kevin Durant, he watched everything. It was just engulfed by the product. But when your home team stinks and you're out of it by the time we get to Valentine's Day, you start losing inspiration to care about the rest of the league. mainly because everyone's instincts, once again, are focused on or shifting towards the tribe, your team. Yeah, I talked about the 65 game rule at the top of the show, but I like it because it forces stars to be made available if they want to reap the benefits of being a star, which is all NBA and potentially end of season individual awards. Hey, DeAndre Ayton, I am thankful for because he provides us such good content. I am sure glad he's not on my team. There are 3 players that would be a detriment to my experience as a New York Knicks fan that I love watching and getting to crack jokes about, but I would be heartbroken if they ever played for my team. DeAndre Ayton, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Keep those 3 away from what I actually care about. Let them go do their thing on some other team somewhere else. How did I make it through the 2010s Knicks weren't that bad. 2010s Knicks was Linsanity, Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire. Those were the most relevant Knicks teams. The teams that you're thinking about are the 2000s Knicks teams. That was Jerome James, Jerome Eddie Curry, Stephon Marbury, Steve Francis. The Knicks once traded assets to acquire Tracy McGrady at the end of his career. Not to play, but so that his contract came off the books so that they would have enough space to go after LeBron. Those New York Knicks, Clarence Weatherspoon, Othella Harrington, Al Harrington, David Lee, who was good, Jamal Crawford. Man, those were Howard Isley, Mike Sweetney. You remember Light the Lamp from Poland, Lampy? You knew Mike Sweetney was going to be a bust? Oh, wait, we just got some news on Jason Kidd. Oh, wow. Jason Kidd on if Cooper Flagg will return by the time the Mavs face Concanapple and the Hornets next Tuesday? Probably not. Oh, boy. He's going to lose Rookie of the Year, man. Anyway, with Mike Sweetney, don't the Mavs play tonight? Oh, they do. Against a feisty, valiant Memphis Grizzlies team. The one time that Knicks fans cheered the selection at the draft, because they always boo. Porzingis got the biggest boos. The one time that Knicks fans actually cheered the pick was Mike Sweetney, who was probably the best player in the Big East Conference, which all New Yorkers followed religiously before he was broken up. And when you go for, oh, that guy's gonna be great. You may not have even supported Georgetown if you were a Big East fan. You might have hated them. Like, oh man, but he's still good. The Knicks got a good one. No, they most certainly did not, because that did not go well. So if Knicks fans ever cheer a pick, you did something wrong. I'd say you're still sore that the Cavs beat you all the other night. I could not care less. All the Knicks do is wipe the floor with the Cavs when the games actually matter. This is the regular season. No one gives a shit. Just make the playoffs. Good thing 2/3 of the NBA teams make them. Stoney says Harden and Ayton could both be in the finals this year. In what? Basketball? I know you're not talking about basketball. What? Some other contest? Are they good at video games like Fortnite? Is that what you're talking about? Do I miss the Porzingis Knicks days? I saw a Knicks versus Cavs game with LeBron, and that was the best game I've ever seen. Oh, was that the one where they were flipping the water bottles at the Garden? Oh, yeah, I miss Porzingis. I miss that version of Porzingis, not the current version. The current version is broken and sick. But pre-ACL injury, that boy can elevate at that size. Oh, my Lord. The best part about Porzingis is he played down on the block. He was dunking. He had hook shots. He looked like Kareem out there with verticality and athleticism. And then it all changed when he blew out his knee and he just turned into a catch and shoot spot up guy. He's just a tall jump shooter now. He's good at it, but he had like and one mixtape moves for someone that size. He could have been Wembanyama. Oh, I forgot about that run of Knicks coaches. Fisher, Rambis, and Fizdale. Who's going to win the West without Oklahoma City? As long as Aaron Gordon does come back at some point, I would say Denver is still the most worthy competitor to dethrone the champs. But San Antonio is in the bucket now. They have to be. They've just proven it too many times. And Wembanyama is just I'm not going to change my mind. He's the most talented basketball player I've ever seen, considering his size. No one at 7'5" should be able to move like that, shoot like that, dribble like that. He's got every skill. He's bad at nothing. I didn't say best NBA player of all time. I didn't say the GOAT. You won't be able to have those conversations for another 25 years. But talented, yes, it's got to be. It's got to be him. Who else is in the category for most talented player ever? Steph? LeBron? It's a short list, isn't it? Yeah, that's the thing about this Spurs team is the last two games against Toronto and before that, Detroit. Yeah. Detroit and Toronto. Wemby from the field, he was held to 2 of 9 in the first half. 2 of 9 in the first half against. Sorry, we're just getting the Jazz injury report here. Keontae George is now questionable. All right. 2 of 9 in the first half against a Pistons team that was obviously trying to be physical with him and put him on his back. He ends up defensively making as big of an impact as he possibly can. But Vassell and Julian Champagnie light the Nets on fire. The same goes for the Raptors that caused him to struggle. He did hit a big relocate 3. But for them, I would say by Wemby's standards, he had a poor offensive shooting night. But he just finds ways to impact the game that don't require him to fill up the box score in the points category. And then that gets supplemented by Vassell and Champagnie shooting, who are like, every night it feels like they're 12 of 20 combined from beyond the arc. And there was a night where Wembanyama finished 5th on the team in points scored that evening. And the Spurs still get to 120 points. And when I think I used this real life analogy in the last show, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But the way that Wembanyama makes up for his offensive deficiencies on a game-to-game basis is what happens to blind people after becoming blind. Your body naturally improves your other senses of feel, smell, hearing, touch, because you don't have your eyesight anymore. A couple of blind people that I've met throughout my life have told me that is the common denominator with most blind people. Like, they can hear a lot better, they smell better. My point there is that when Wemby's struggling and he loses his sense of scoring, every other facet of the game gets amplified as a result. Some of those blocks where he's just like splattering shit off the glass. He causes guys to pass up open layups just because of his mere presence. He is able to contribute defensively, switching on the perimeter, taking on ball assignments at the point of attack, loose balls, all the above. Passing, IQ, yeah. Well, the Knicks and the Spurs are going to be playing on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, running back the NBA Cup championship. Well, I think the Spurs beat us since that game in San Antonio. Did I know that Sham Penny was a Sixer for 2 games and got waived just so we could make room for Mac McClung to wear a Sixers jersey in the dunk contest? The butterfly effect of the NBA has so many stories like that. What do you think Philly's thinking when they see Sham Penny and Isaiah Joe out there just killing it? Essential stations of an assembly line in Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Did I see the interview? He said he didn't get enough sleep, so that's why he was feeling so off. Well, if my body was 7'5" and I didn't get enough sleep, it would probably hurt too. Wyatt asked, shouldn't any anti-tanking changes that affect draft picks go into effect beginning as far out as draft capital has been tradable? In my opinion, it's changing the value of what was previously negotiated and agreed upon, and for the most part, devalues what were forecasted to be higher value at the time of trade. If they ever do something like get rid of the draft, then yes, they would have to wait until every single future pick has been expired, used or expired. You can't just say starting next year the draft doesn't exist, because someone like Oklahoma City that spent years building this war chest of draft assets is going to be really, really put at a disadvantage. The Spurs won New Year's Eve. Okay, you're 1-0 against the Knicks, but Cup championship still counts, even though it's so stupid that it doesn't count as, doesn't even have stats. It's just a game that exists. Oh, Jared McCain. I forgot about that. The Sixers have to watch Sham Penny, Isaiah Joe, and Jared McCain kill it for these other teams. Could have all been theirs. Whew. What else? You got a couple of minutes left here before we tip off tonight's action. What are you guys doing this weekend? What are you doing tonight? I know some of you are lurking in the chat. Vegan Barbie, I know you're in there somewhere. Carly, what's for dinner? Spaghetti with meat sauce. It is a spaghetti with meat sauce night, and it's a beautiful Friday. end of the month here in Los Angeles, which probably means we're going to get ourselves a police chase. I actually would love pizza right now. Yeah. They got nothing from McCain. Yeah. They dumped McCain so that they could have a roster spot for Barlow and get Quentin Grimes more ingrained with that lineup. Ugh. Fucking aprons, man. Appreciate you, Mike. You as well. Enjoy your weekends, everybody. How overrated as a GM is Daryl Morey looking like, especially after the McCain trade? I mean, he's been around for so long. Can't act like he doesn't know what he's doing, but I do wonder like what his initiative is. What's his own personal agenda? Is it to keep his job, or is it to put the Philadelphia 76ers in the best spot possible? Because Sam Hinkie was willing to practically lose his job to follow through on his vision and plan for what would be best for the franchise long term. He's cleared to take jumpers, Helwick. That's a big step coming off knee recovery. Be careful out there. Are you going to be like Damian Lillard and show up to a three-point contest without the ability to play? Maybe your jumper will improve. Stop dunking, too. That's not going to help your knees. Your dunking days may be over. $63 broad jumps in physical training today. Oh, my God. Might be time to play the saxophone. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I just don't want to see you get re-hurt. Every day I'm thinking about what can I do for exercise that does not put me in a position to be hurt. You get hurt when you get older, it takes forever to recover. It's expensive. So youth, enjoy your youth while you got it. On that note, we're about to tip off one of the games of the night. Cavs and the Pistons, followed by Thunder and the Nuggets. Appreciate our partners at ProfitX for sponsoring this stream as always. I'm going to go make some spaghetti with meat sauce, and I'll see you guys back here on Monday. How about that? GG's in the chat. Maybe we'll get a chase. Until then, deuces.